Hello everyone and welcome to a really awesome game that was suggested to me a few hours ago via email by Mikola Axeli, so thank you for that. It's a game from the 33rd edition of the Stockholm Rilton Cup, and it's from 2003, but it stretches out to 2004. It's probably a New Year's tournament. There are quite a few tournaments that do this, and it's a game between the legend himself, Svetozar Gligoric, and Finnish Grandmaster Tomi Nyback. We've already seen a game by Nyback a few weeks ago. I think the game against Magnus Carlsen. If you haven't seen that, do check it out. It will be the first thing in the description below, so maybe as a warm-up for this video. But Gligoric, he needs no introduction basically, but as I know a lot of you are coming into the chess world on a daily basis, he truly is a legend. There is no grandmaster that he didn't defeat, like from Bobby Fischer, Tigran Petrosian, I don't know if he defeated Bronstein, he defeated Paul Keres, he defeated Najdorf. Interestingly, he never defeated Boris Spassky. He faced Spassky some 22 times in serious games, but he never defeated him. He drew against him quite a lot, but never got a victory against Spassky. But either way, he's an extremely strong player, and this was some 4 years prior to Gligoric's death. It was, like I said, in 2008, and he still played tournaments very actively. So without further ado, let's check it out, as this is a very interesting game. So Gligoric with the white pieces opens with d4. We have knight to f6 by Nyback, c4, and now c5. Striking in the center right away, going for the Benoni defense. We have d5, Gligoric grabs more space in the center, and now b5. This is the Benko Gambit, or the Benko-Volga Gambit, and it's a very sharp opening for black, where black offers some material for very rapid development. So c captures on b5, we have a6, and b captures on a6. So the Benko has been fully accepted. We have g6 now by black, preparing to Vienketo the dark square bishop, knight to c3, and now bishop captures on a6, which kind of prevents white from playing e4, because then black will just capture and white loses castling privileges. But this is exactly what white does, and this is the absolute best way to counter black's plans here. So e4, you really don't mind. You're going to play king to f1, then in the future king to g1, and so on. So basically you're going to castle artificially. So bishop captures on f1 was played, king captures, and d6 now. And this is nothing new. This has all been played before many times. And here nowadays the top moves here are something like knight to f3, and also g3 is very popular. But Gligoric decided to play knight to e2 here. We have bishop to g7, and now h3, taking away the g4 square from black's pieces, and now we have castles by Nyback. We have king to g1. The king is coming to h2, and then you're going to shift the rook into the game this way, and therefore you will artificially castle. So knight b to d7, and now king to h2 by Gligoric. We have queen to a5, bringing the queen into the game, and this is kind of the idea. Black sacrificed a pawn for rapid development. White does already have a passed a pawn, but black controls the board really. The bishop cuts the board completely in half. You're going to get this rook to b8, you're going to control the b file, the a file, the queen will help out with putting more pressure in the position. This knight can come to e5, this knight can come to h5, maybe to f4 in the future, maybe to g3 even. So there are a lot of possibilities here for black, and white has to be very careful, as well, a lot of games throughout history have shown when black goes for the Benko Gambit. So here, queen to c2, Gligoric continues development, develops the queen. Now next he's going to develop the bishop, and then connect the rooks, of course. We have rook f to b8, and now rook to d1. So nicely developing, and now comes rook to b4. There are some moves that have been played here after this game, but rook to b4 was never, rather it was as of move 14 that this move has never been repeated again. So we are in completely new territory now, and we have rook to b1. And now you have to figure out how you want to go about this. Probably b3 and a4, because you want to get rid of all of your weaknesses, and you want to create a pass pawn that can be successfully pushed forward. And you have to be a little bit careful here. For example, rook 8 to b8. Here, this is what was played by Nyback. And now, if Gligoric tries something like a3, which kind of does make sense, after b3, rook b3, there's really not all that much for white to do here, and you're really gonna struggle with any ideas on how to develop your pieces, and it's gonna be very easy for black to play this. So instead, after rook 8 to b8, we have bishop to d2. And now, as the bishop is aligned with the rook and the queen, Nyback of course moves the queen, and there are no good discoveries with the knight, so you don't have to worry about that for the moment. So he just Gligoric strengthens the center here. We have f3, adding more protection to the e4 pawn, and now knight to e5. We have b3 as planned. At some point a4 is coming, and now rook to c8. So here Nyback is saying, okay, you really covered everything. There's really not all that much I can do. All of the squares are covered. Like I don't have any knight ideas because the bishop and knight are covering f4. The g3 is covered by the knight and the king. So there is not a lot I can do, but I can push c4 and open up some lines for my rooks. And here Gligoric should try something like bishop to e3. And it's very interesting that Gligoric abandons this diagonal here. He plays bishop to e1, and Nyback immediately takes advantage of that. He plays knight to h5. And okay, now the f4 square has been weakened somewhat, but it's also just a very strong piece there, as you'll see in the rest of the game. And now Gligoric should most definitely play f4. With f4, you're saying, okay, get rid of this knight, and then I'm going to just enjoy my position. For example, knight moves, and then we're going to bring the rook back to c1, try and put up some sort of a blockade on the c file, and everything here is nicely protected. You don't really have to worry about anything on the queen side. However, here Gligoric rushed it a bit too much. He played a4, and now there's a problem. Now black has a lot of counterplay, and Nyback uses it by playing c4. So, okay, b captures on c4. We have rook b captures on c4. Nothing spectacular happening here, but the rooks are doubled on the c file. Your queen is on c2, so you kind of want to move it, but you have to be very careful here. Gligoric played queen to b3, but this simply will not do. Queen to b3, although seems like a very natural move. You move the queen away from the c file, and ideas like queen to b5 come to mind. If black captures, you're gonna get a nice pass pawn here, so everything kind of makes sense. The problem is it loses by force, and this is that's a big problem for Gligoric here. So feel free to pause the video and win this game for Nyback while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this outrageous idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's actually rook captures on c3. So congratulations to everyone who found it. It's not all that clear. I mean, a lot of you probably thought of this move and then thought, yeah, but what next? To figure that out, we have to go a little bit deeper. The problem is bishop captures on c3 is no good, because then we just play knight captures. On f3 with check, we open up a double attack here on the bishop, but that's not even the worst thing. After g captures on f3, the knight hangs with check. So queen captures on e2 comes with check, and after king g1, now anything really wins here for black. We can just calmly capture here. Bishop to d4, check is in the air. At some point, if the rook moves, the knight can come easily to f4. We can checkmate the king this way. Or if queen to b5, offering a queen trade, because there aren't all that many good squares here. Like this bishop is cutting off all counterplay from white. There's no way for the rooks to help out with the defense. And if something like this, offering a queen trade, then we're just going to play bishop d4 check. And there's really not all that much you can do here. So if you move the king, let's say king h1, knight to g3 is checkmate. And now, of course, if you capture the bishop, which is the other thing, then queen to e3 check. King moves, and then the knight just comes to help out with the attack. King goes here, rook to c2 with check, and that's it. Whatever you do, that's it. King captures here, queen to g5 will be checkmate. The rook is covering the second rank, and that's it. The king has nowhere to go. So that seems very complicated, but Nyback worked it all out, and Gligoric, of course, did not capture with the bishop. Gligoric did the only other thing he could. Well, okay, you could play queen b5 and just claim, okay, I don't. It's like I sacrificed a piece, and I'm going to play for this pass pawn, but it's a very slow and painful death, torture, basically. So instead, what Gligoric did after this idea of rook captures on b3 is he played knight captures on c3. But now comes the other idea, and that, of course, is I'm sure you can see it. There's no knight here on e2, so you have to be mindful of that. But just in case, feel free to pause the video once again and win this game for Nyback. Well, I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting that it's the exact same idea, even without the knight on e2. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's knight captures on f3 with check. That's the good stuff. And even though the knight is not on e2, you don't have access to e2, none of this matters because this is just a game. Because if the king moves, then queen to f1 is checkmate. The knights are covering all of the important squares here, so you have to capture it. G captures on f3 was played, but now Nyback just played queen to f1, and it was in this position on move 24 that Svetozar Gligoric resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So truly an amazing game. I'm sure Gligoric was very impressed with this game himself, as he does come from the golden age of chess, would appreciate a miniature like this more than a modern player would, I imagine. And here you resign because there is nothing you can do. And it's just amazing. Bishop to e5 check, the most obvious threat, and to prevent this you kind of have to play bishop to g3, but it just all falls apart. Queen captures on f3 because now the queen is under attack as well, but you're just going to capture this, put pressure on the bishop here, and now again not much can be done here. If rook to g1 defending, you're just going to play knight captures, rook captures, and bishop to e5 again. Not much point in doing this. Rook to g1, and then just rook captures on c3 with unstoppable pressure here. There's no playing this. You could, however, instead of maybe going for this rook captures on g3 recapture, you could play knight to b5 and offer a trade of queens, but then just rook to c3. Amazing move. If queen captures, then bishop captures queen, so you'd have to capture back with the knight, and then we of course go into this amazing checkmating pattern. Knight to f1 check. You don't really have an option here. You have to capture the knight with either rook, so rook captures, and now bishop to e5 check. Only move rook g3. Now we're going to capture it, king h1, and queen to h2 will be checkmate. So after queen f1, Gligoric resigned. He calculated all of this and said that there's no point in continuing this, and this amazing game was played by Tomi Nyback, who takes down the legend Svetozar Gligoric. So really an awesome game. Like I said, if you haven't seen the game, we've covered it, I think, a few weeks ago, where Nyback faced Magnus Carlsen. It will be the first link in the description below, so do check it out as well. He has a very distinctive style, and I really enjoy it. So hopefully we can dig up some more crazy games like this one by the man himself, Tomi Nyback. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank a gentleman who says, my daughters Catherine and Lila are awesome, Bedtime Chess, Robert Henderson, BoncloudChess.com, and Jan Mantau for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing the coverage of the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions such as this one and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.